But the fact that we are recording doesn't mean that you shouldn't pay attention. The video is just for referencing. Okay. So no open toes, preferably no high heels. You all have beautiful faces. I don't want to see anybody's face bandaged. So you have to tie your hair. Okay? Because some of us get on the wheel and then we forget ourselves. We can go so close, your hair gets entangled. By the time you remember to take off your foot, your face will be either swollen or bruised or whatever. The only thing I can do, if I don't have to call 911, I'll just give you put some alcohol or something or something on it, and then ask you to go home. I don't want that. Next, if you have long nails, you don't need them next week. Okay? So if you have long nails, you have only from now to Monday 10:54
All the girls they get
to enjoy them. They have to go away. Okay? Alright? So if you come next week and you have the long nails, alright, I won't give up on you. But you may end up shedding tears. Right? Because your nails are going to impede your progress. Your nails are going to ruin what you have. This is not like you having long nails and then if you're tapping your phone, you can use this side of your finger instead of, okay? So this time you need the tip of your fingers.
Question, how short? Just to wear like short or
Yes.
Great.
So
Okay.
as short as if your hand is like if you put your hand straight, like vertically in the clay or on the clay, your nail should not make any mark in the clay. Alright? Aside from that, if you have long nails, it takes so much time to clean. Unless maybe you want to, if you want half of your food to be clay and then the other half will be food. Okay? So that's it. I'm going to put this here. All the wheels have their switch. Okay? So you plug it into the plug on the pole, and then I think all of them have it on the right. Okay, so you turn it on the right, and then on the right you have two handles or buttons. I'll say handles. Okay, so one is on and off switch, and then the other one is the direction of the wheel. So it's either forward or backwards. Forward or backwards, just simply either clockwise or anti-clockwise. And most of us are, if you're right-handed, it has to go anti-clockwise. Okay? If you're right-handed, it has to go the opposite direction of you pulling against it. If you're left-handed, it goes clockwise, because the left is where your most strength is, and you're going to pull against that direction. Okay, so that is it. And then what again? This is called a splash pan. Okay, can you grab me a sponge? So this is here to collect all the residue or all the mess that you will make. This is not here for you to make a pond. Okay? Right? It is not here for you to fill it up with. So you don't have to finish throwing and like half of the water you have in the bucket is in here. No. Even though we need this, but we should use it moderately and accordingly. The more you put on the clay, the weaker the clay gets. Okay? That does not mean that you don't have to use it. You have to be moderate. If you don't use it, it's a problem. If you overuse it, it's another problem. So you have to know the balance.
Good question. If my sponge is little, should I get a big sponge like that? Or does
I just called for the sponge. I haven't even said what I was calling.
Sorry.
So, if for some reason you get your own wheel or something and you don't have the splash, okay? This is just by the way. I thought it may help. So let's say you don't have it or you have just one. You can put this here, all right? And then maybe your bucket or something. So this is going to collect all the water that will be splashing away. Okay? That is just by the way. But again, I think that's it. So when you come on here, almost all the wheels, except the very old ones, but even the old ones you're still going to see, or the ones that have those black bats put on, they all have rings. The rings are there to guide you to the middle of the wheel. Okay, so if you have something as wide as this and you want to center it, this is there, or you want to trim, these are there to guide you, position your clay. Okay, and so who brought this? Angie. And Elizabeth brought this, and so Elizabeth. So if I were to award, I will only give a present to Angie. When you come on the wheel, try to get your clay as rounded as possible. Okay? Some will tell you, oh, and what I'm going to show you here is not the ultimate. There are so many different styles. Everybody and their style. So if what I'm going to show will not work for you, you can watch other videos. There are so many people who throw. You watch other videos and then you look at the technique that can help you. You can watch videos and combine 2-3 techniques, and then it will help you make it work. Okay? So don't say this is what Japheth said and it has to be exact. No. Okay? So whenever you come, it's most comfortable, or it makes your work easier if your clay is in a very good ball shape. Okay? Some will tell you that you have to make the clay in a conical form before you come. But I would say that just come, make it in a very good ball as much as you can, put it on, and if you want to make it into a cone, you can do it. Okay? And when you have this, don't just do this. Okay? So I did this, and it's not in the center. See how it's wobbling? Don't do this and try to center it. Okay? You don't have the strength of Hulk. Alright? And then one particular trick about being on the wheel, even if you have the strength of Hulk, okay, or whatever, and you don't have the skill, this clay can throw you off the wheel. Is that okay? If you have all the strength and you don't learn the skill, this small clay, you can never center it, no matter your strength, even though you need some strength. Alright? So it's going to be a bit of strength and a bit of balance. Yes. Okay, so this, I think I said it last Monday. You need all your senses. It is more or less you being on this behind the wheel driving, right? You need your brain to connect to your hands, to connect to your feet, okay, or your legs or whatever. You need your eyes, okay. You need your ears. All right, so I have to take this off, make it into another ball, and then try to look for the inner circle. All right. If you want to bang it, that's fine. If you feel like you try and it goes off, just put it there, okay, and then just try to get it in there. So on Monday, I'll show you. You can let this move slowly, and then your hands go diagonally like this. Okay, so you're not going to go this way. You're not going to go only this way. So your hands are going to be like this, and you're going down at the same time going in. Okay, so you may choose not to let this revolve, and then just go. So I push down, okay, it goes down, and I press in. If I only do this, it's going to spread out. All right, so I do this and I turn gradually, or I can let this move, and then I'll be doing this. Okay, so if you want to do this, it has to go a bit slower, and your hands have to go a little faster. Otherwise, you're just going to tap the same point, and that's going to imbalance your clay. So on Monday, some of you will come and then they'll do this. Your hand goes and then they pause, and then you get scared because you're not sure where your hands are going to go. Just touch the clay. Okay, so you do this, and then the clay will be stuck. Okay. Is there anything else? Okay, so now you can just wet 2 hands, or you can just do a few drops. All right, you don't scoop like a bowl of soup and then just go. No. All right, just wet your hands, or just a few drops, and then you put your hands around. Okay, so 2 things here. I'm going to do one with the coning, which is the most favorite of America or American potters. Everybody wants to cone, right? But until I came here, I never did coning. If I know my clay is well wedged, I just do my centering and go my way. Okay, so one thing that the coning helps is if you're not sure that your clay is well wedged, you go up, come down, up, down, and then you'll be wedging the clay further on the wheel before you start your proper throw. Okay, so whether you're going to cone or not cone, so let's say I have finished coning, or I've coned already. The wheel is moving
counterclockwise.
Yes, I have 2 hands. Okay, one is going to push against the direction of the wheel. Another, is so tired. Do you want to sleep? Do you want to sleep? So one hand is going to push against, and another one is going to what? So it's going this way. So this one pushes, and then going this way. This is going to what? Pull. Okay. So one against the direction, one pushing against, one pulling against. and then you force the clay in the middle. All right, so your hand, you have your fingers, you have your palm, you have your thumb, you have the heel of the palm. They all have something to do. Okay, so whilst you're pulling and pushing against the direction, you're also pushing left, right, front, top. Okay, so your hands, like I said, your brain has to do the work here. Your hands will be around, but it has to perform like 4 or 5 things at the same time. Okay, you're not just doing this. Yeah, it's around, but this is pulling against the direction, at the same time pushing in, okay, and the thumb pressing down. Okay, this is pushing against the direction, at the same time pushing in and then pushing down. All right, so the palm here do the pushing to the right, in here, or to the left, and this to the right. So this, the palm does the pushing inward, and then the heel here does the, how do you call it, does the pushing against, okay, if you're using the left hand, and then this side will be doing the pulling against the direction. Okay, so you're going to press, you're going to pull, you're going to push and push down. Okay, so I put my hands around. If I feel like my hands are getting sticky, just do this and go again. So, do you see my hands wobbling? No. So, nobody has to come and tell you it is centered or not centered. Just look at your hands. And if you're taking off your hands, just do it gently. Your hands shouldn't be on like this and then you just do this. No. You do this thinking that both hands went off at the same time. No, you lie. Okay? If you can try it, you put your hands around and then you see the clay revolving gently, and then your hands will be, you take it off and then you see it kind of wobbling a little bit. You can try it.
Wow.
You think that they went off. No. So this is what? Point number what? One. Okay, so we're going to get the clay in the center of the wheel, which is center. Okay? Let's try the coning. Always, whenever you take off the clay from the wheel and you want to come back to throw, try. That's why some of you need the sponge, the towel. Try to clean everything here. If possible, use your towel to dry it and then come back. And then you don't have to make the clay as wet as I'm doing now. You have to wipe your hands so that the clay doesn't get slippery. Okay? I can get away with this. Like I said, learn the basic rules, know how they work, and you can break them freely and go scot-free. Okay? But breaking them doesn't always work like 100%. Okay, so I'll get this on here. So we all know the cone is like this. So we're basically going to push the clay up. Okay, we're going to press the clay and pull it up into a cone and then bring it down. Okay. And also this one, the pedal, you can set your speed and take off your leg. These ones work most, especially that one. You see it's going by itself. If you feel like you can't concentrate on your gas and your wheel, you can set it to, this will be like cruise control, okay? And then you just be doing your driving. You go back when you need to brake, right? And what again? For those of us, my short friends, if you feel like your feet needs to get a lot higher, we have some bricks around. You put some, and then your legs will rest on it. Okay? And then always, I forgot to say this, always your hands have to be as steady as possible. Okay? So you call this your bridge. Okay, so you have your arms on here. Some of you will have to use the splash pad. Your hands have to be as steady as possible, and you don't have to be doing this. Okay, you have to try to balance your spine so that you don't get up from here and then you'll be walking like you can't stand straight. Okay, so always trying to balance your weight, right? So your arms here, if you need this leg up, put some bricks, and then your feet or your leg can rest on, especially the two of you. Okay, so you're going to push this. So I'm going to push in here, not all the way till my hands meet, no. I'll push and pull it up.
Are you using this part of your hand or all the
So this one, the same thing. Your fingers are most important. So most of the pushing is going to be your fingers and your palm. So the fingers are doing the front, and then the palm is doing the middle. Okay? And if you want to, some try to do this, but it puts much strain on your wrist. If you do this, your wrist will be very straight. Okay? So your hand and your arm at the joint of your wrist will be straight. So you won't have much stress on your wrist. If you try to do this, you're going to have so much strain in here. So imagine you do this for like, some of you are going to spend like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or the whole day, and then you cannot center the clay. That's going to be possible. That doesn't mean that you have failed, no. Okay, so like I said, on the first day, some of you just sit on and then boom, or just happen like magic. Okay, some will take the whole week and nothing concrete will happen, but that is also part of the progress. Okay, so I press and then bring it up. Okay, into a cone. Right? Some make the cone as very tall and thin. That's no. You don't need this. If your clay is big, you can see people throwing very big clay and then they'll go all the way and then bring it down. That's fine. But if you have something like this is very small, so you don't need to go all the way. You can do it, but mostly it's not necessary. Alright? So when you get to this point, you want the clay to center. This part especially is not centered. So you're going to bring this down And then mostly I'm right-handed, so I'm putting the left here, and then the right to do the pushing down. Okay. Some just start with this. Alright, but I would suggest that, or I would say, you need the palm to press down until you get a very wider surface area here before you use this side of the hand. Okay, so, and always you can try this, try to interlock your hands. So this goes, I put this on, and then I do this. Okay, so the two hands together is going to give me some strength and stability. Right, and then I have my hands firmly here. So I press. Whilst you press, you see the clay expanding. Okay, it will be expanding. Try to make sure that as you go, your hands will not be wobbly, because you're trying to center the top here and push it to meet the bottom half. Alright, so I go all the way. So I go further, and then now you see what it did in my palm. So I try to put my palm, or put the clay in the middle of my palm. Alright, and then push it down. That's why I have it this way. So it goes. You have to always know the kind of speed that works for you. You don't need it so low, you don't need it too fast. Alright, so you have to know when to go 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, and you have to know when to go 75 or the 80s. Alright, so when you go at a speed of what, 75 or 50 in a 45 zone, you get what? You get a ticket. If you don't get a ticket and you don't crash, hallelujah. But you may not get a ticket, or you may crash. Right? So know when to speed. Right? You don't need speed always. And the wheel should not be moving too slow. Right? I'm going to be talking so much because it's very important. I'm trying to tell you all that I can remember about what you have to do and what to not to do. So I get to this point, and always when you're pressing and you feel tired, take off your hand slowly, come back. Alright? Or if you're pressing and you feel tired, you're getting tired, take a water break. Just dip your hand here and then come back. Okay? So at this point, I may continue to go all the way, or you see some use it going this way. So they use this side of their palm or their hand, then press down. Okay? Sometimes I mostly don't like it going this way because I do this and it puts some strain here. Right? So I mostly love to do this, right? And then let this side of the palm, that's the pushing down for me. Whilst I grab the clay, so my fingers are supporting the front, the palm is on the side, and this part here is also on this side. And then I push it down. So instead of this, I'm using this side to go down. Okay? If you want to take off your hands again, do it gently. The two hands can be around, and then you first take off one gently, and then the other one goes. You don't do this. Right?
Yep.
Okay, any questions?
Why can't you do it fast?
It'll get wobbly.
Step out.
Professor,
Yes.
so you're right-handed,
Yes.
okay. So if you were right-handed, you'd be going counterclockwise.
Yes. Some of us may be left-handed, but we still have some strength in the right. So you don't necessarily have to go clockwise. Alright? If you feel like your right is going to be the most strength. Right? Okay, so we can move on to the next, right? Okay, so if you feel like you're not comfortable, you can just put your hands around just to make sure you have it perfectly rounded. Okay? Alright? Okay, so we're going to number 2. You can start with the 2 thumbs or any of these, maybe especially these 2, or all the 4 fingers, depending on the size of your piece. Okay, so in some videos you see, so if you're going to use your thumb, the fingers are still going to be at work here. You don't have to do this. The thumbs are going to be together, push at the same time, but the fingers and the palm have to support the side. So the fingers are supporting the front, and then the palm left and right, and then the thumb will be doing the pushing. So it pushes down. And we're not pushing all the way till our hands or our thumb hit the head, right? So we push to a level and then we stop. So my thumbs are together, I'm pushing in. If you feel your hands are getting sticky, you come back, some few drops, and then you go again. Once again, some of us are going to have, or some of us have very short fingers. Okay, yes, almost half of us. So if you feel if your thumb cannot go all the way, you can do this, but I don't encourage that at this moment, because your hands are going to wobble. All right, because it's like they're suspending in the air. Okay. So what you can do, make sure your hand, the clay is moving freely, and then instead of a thumb, you use some of the long fingers. Okay, it could be these 2, or it could be these 3, or these 2. Okay, and then you push it in. So whilst I'm pushing this in, the left is still supporting the side. Okay, and then I push in to a point where I feel like it's okay. If it is not okay, we will widen up and then we will check the depth. Okay, so when I'm done, I'm going to go to the side, open it wide. Now I just made a hole, I have to go wide. Okay, and the wide also can be 2 things. You can still use your thumb, your 2 hands on your lap or on the bridge, and then the fingers on the front, the palm on the side, and you push out. So they were together and now they're going to separate. They're not divorced yet.
Oh, not yet.
Okay? Because they're still working together. So you're going to go, and it has to be on the same plane. Unless maybe you want to make a cup that is like this. But even if you want to make a cup with a base or the bottom shape being rounded, I would still suggest that you go on the 180 plane. You know 180 degrees? It's just straight. Okay, just parallel, right? So your hands are going to go at the same pace, right? So if you feel your hands, both thumbs cannot go at the same pace, just use one hand. And then you can come back, this on the side, and then your thumb, oh, not these 2 fingers I'm always using 2 because 2 give you some strength. If one is wobbling, the other is going to keep it in check. All right? So I come slowly. Okay? If I feel like, and you need some strength, all right? If you don't put in some strength, I'm not saying put in all your energy and then after one opening you'll be panting like whatever. Okay? Just some strength. If you feel like you need to catch some breath, some of us will come in here and not be breathing, especially when you're pulling, because we feel like if you do, you're going to fumble. So if you're not breathing and you are losing some gas, just slow down, take off your hand and come back. If you feel your hands is getting sticky, it means that the clay is getting dry. All right? So you come, grab some, and then you go. So you can open to a point where all 4 fingers can go in, and if you feel like you still have to open further, 4 is going to be definitely stronger than what? 2. So you grab the clay, and then still on the same plane, you stretch the clay. So you're pulling up, pulling to the side, and that's the opening.
How much pressure are you putting on your left hand?
My left hand is just there to make sure that there's more pressure in here than here, because I'm coming out. If I put more here, it's going to impede the progress of this. So this is just there for a guide. So the wider I open, the wider the clay gets. Alright? So we're not going to open to this point. We're not making a wider bowl or a wider cylinder or a wider cup. Okay? So let me close it up. So you're going to open to something like this. And when my hands or my fingers were inside, I grab the clay like this. Okay? So that I will have some opening around. So most of the clay is going to be accumulated on the top part here, and that is what I'm going to pull up to get the wall formed. Okay, all right, so that is the opening. Okay, let's go to number 3. Once again, make sure your hands are wet or the clay is moving freely in your hand. Okay, so I'm going to put this hand inside and this will be outside. Okay, if you're left-handed, the right will be inside and then the left will be outside here. And that way the wheel will be going this way, not this way. So the left in, the right here. Alright? You may try, once again, interlock your hands just for strength and stability. Okay? So the 2 hands will be together like this. So I'm going to be pressing the clay in between these 2. Okay? As I press and come up, I'll be stretching the clay. So as the clay gets thin, the wall will be forming. Alright? And then I have to come up, not at a very faster pace. My hands should not be moving faster than the wheel. If my hands move faster than the wheel, my clay or the rim will start wobbling, because one side will have more pressure than the other. Okay? If your hands, once again, if your hands move faster than the wheel, it means that a part of the clay is going to miss a turn of your hand. Okay? So it's going to be, if a put this around and I go at a slower pace, you see that the gaps are what? Almost even. Okay? But imagine I go at this pace. Right? So if you do this, if your hands move faster than the wheel, it means that you're going to have some parts of the clay missing the pressure from your hand or missing a press from your hand. And that parts are going to be bulky. Okay? And so your clay is going to be dancing on the wheel. Yes. Right? Do you want to take a break? I don't like how people are yawning.
It's natural.
It's not your.
It's up to you.
When you're really relaxed, your breathing slows,
I know, but
and then your body's.
it's
needs
too
to get the
soon. We
oxygen out.
just spent like 15 minutes and you're yawning. Okay.
It's mouth stretching.
This and I found it I need to know.
Okay. So this goes in, this goes out, and don't press. This hand should not be here, and this should not be here. They have to be opposite and pressing against each other, and the clay will be in the center or in the middle.
How
So-
much pressure together?
What?
So that you're pushing them together, how much pressure are you putting?
So as much pressure that will not tear off the clay.
I feel
Okay, so it has to be at your own pace. And also, if you're pressing the clay, your hands should not be at one point where the wheel or the clay will revolve like several times at the same, with your hands at the same spot. So it means that you're just pressing one spot, okay, for several seconds. That means that that part is getting thinner. So you start pressing and then you bring it up slowly. See, the wheel is not moving too fast. My hands are also not moving too fast. So I come all the way until my fingers meet, and I take off my hand slowly or gently.
You make it look so easy.
Okay, so you don't have to rush. And if your hands are here, the left is here, the right is here, you get to this point and you don't see any height build up, you didn't do anything.
Okay.
Okay, so some of you will say, I'm pulling but it's not coming up. It's because you're not pulling. In your mind you have pulled all the way to the 5 inches. But in reality the clay is still sitting at like 2 or 3. Okay?
Professor, you
Yes.
could be pulling and not pressing in. That would also cause for it not to go up, right?
Yeah, you can be,
Yeah.
like I said, if you're pulling, it means that you're pressing and stretching. Okay? But if your hands are just around the clay and you're not pressing, right? You're not pulling. It's not going to go out.
So is it kind of like the same idea as like pinching? in a way?
Yes. Just the same idea as it. So you just look at the inside. If you're getting too much water there, you mop it out. The more water you have in the clay, remember, it's going to weaken the clay. Okay? So let's try this. So we did this and brought it up. Some of us can also try the sponge. Okay? That way your hands are not going to interlock like this. Okay? But you're going to have this out, this in, and then the same way, even though my hands are not interlocked like this, but if you come closer you can see that the thumbs are together. So make sure my hands are wet, and then always I push down here so you can see I'm pushing. Now I have a ring made, so I'm going to pull up. Okay, So I go again gently, not too much speed, and then I come up. Okay, if you get to the top, don't be in a rush. You always be tempted to fumble or to flinch when you're getting to the edge. If you feel like you want to flinch, just when you get here, just stop and take off your hand. Alright? Because if you get to this point and you flinch, it wobble.
Makes sense.
Okay? Okay, so now let's talk about wobbling. If the clay wobbles like this, two ways, you can put your hands around the clay evenly, okay, and then make sure your hands are steady. Or you can go back in there, try to pull, but this time around, you're not pressing too hard. You're making sure your hands are just steady around the clay, just to straighten it up. Okay, so you just go slowly, and then it will stop wobbling. If it is getting too scary, okay, like whatever, but you can try this. Embrace the clay, like grab it, okay? Grab it like this. Just put your hands, don't just put your hands around. And if you feel like your hands are just in the air, you can put the arm against the body, maybe one, and then so that you can have one steady. So your hands move slowly, and then you take it off slowly. It is natural if your hands get a little shaky. Okay? Is that okay?
Beautiful.
When you come here, when you're pulling, if you're right-handed, the left, for whatever reason, will try to overpower the right, even though the right has the more strength. Okay? So you may be tempted, the right will be pushing the left. It is because some of us will be sitting like this. So we'll push it, and then by the time you get to the end, you see it. Well, I couldn't do it. It's sometimes difficult to make a mistake intentionally.
Yeah.
So you wanted something straight, but you ended up, it's getting wide. So after each pull, just embrace the clay. Make sure your hands are wet. Embrace the clay gently. Push it in gently. As you push the clay in, it will be compacting, and then it will close up, and you can pull again. Okay? Any questions?
Also, by when you compact it, it makes it stronger, right? Like,
Yeah, it makes it thicker. Alright, so if your clay is as this wide, right, and you compress it, it's going to be as this tall and thick, because you're pushing the particles compactly, or you're compacting the particles. So it's going to be thicker and taller, right? So let's try that. So push this up. So as it goes up, you see that it is getting thick. And sometimes you don't have to let anybody tell you it is thick or not thick. You can look at the clay, okay, from this direction, right? And then, oh, like the ones that I drew on the board. So you look inside the clay, and then look at the outside. If you look and the inside is going this way and the outside is straight, you will know. If you look into it and you have this side very thin, and then getting to the bottom part is thick, you will see. You wouldn't need anybody to tell you no. Okay? Alright, so let me open it up again. And then we will try to shape it. So let's say it is a straight cylinder. So you want the outside to be clean. You have this, and then you have this also. Okay, but for now I would suggest that we use this. If you don't know, if you don't practice how to use this and you hold it at the wrong direction, you just go and it takes it off. And then when the clay catches your tool, fine. It's like what's the best example? If it is let's say somebody get electrocuted or something catches fire, if it is electric, you look for the main source and then you turn it off. So if your tool catches, the clay catches your tool, look for the pedal and stop it. So look for the brake. Okay, you stop it, take it off. Don't try to catch it whilst it's going. Right? You're not a magician. Okay, this can cut terribly. Okay, and also again, remember not to be wiping it like this. You have your sponge, or you can use any of your tools to wipe. Right? You do this and when it does that, you just do this, or you stop and then press that you don't see the blood. Okay, so we can put this, you can just, this has a 90-degree angle. So you can just put it on here and then draw it closer to your clay, and then it cuts the clay bit by bit for you. So after it makes a full turn and it does some cutting, you can take it off and then you go again gradually. Okay? Or you can just go this way and ignore this side. Go this way, put your hand in there, and then press the clay against the wood or your tool. And then again, take off your hand slowly or gently. Okay? And then this part, you can still continue doing this to cut it bit by bit, or use this tip, or take this tool, hold it at an angle that is less than 90 degrees. So it can be 60, it can be 70, it can be 45. Okay? Hold it, and then you put it here. When you put it here, let the wheel or the clay have a full turn to make sure you have the mark. And then you push it in gently and slowly until it touches the head, the metal head. Okay? For now, just turn off your wheel and then take this off patiently. Okay? You will get to a point where you can be working as fast as you want. And now you have to be patient and then go slowly. Okay? So we're done with the wall or with the side. Still feel like I have some water in here, I'll mop it out. Okay? So let's do one or two things. Imagine I get to a point and the rim is wobbling. It's dancing up and down like a wave. Okay? I can use the wire tool to trim, or I can use the pin tool to trim. So you can see that everything I have done here, you have options. There are two sides to almost everything, but you're going to achieve the same result. So you have to know what works for me, or what will work for me, or what I can really be comfortable at.
Okay.
Eh,
See, this is why I have my fancy thing.
yeah.
Making fun of my fancy thing. Yeah.
Okay, so now you're not holding this to cut yourself. Alright? So just you just grab this around your hand loosely. Okay? So it goes around, and then the next one is just going to go around these, and then I'll hold it here. So I'm only holding this small end here tighter. Alright? It shouldn't stretch or very tightly around your fingers. You're not trying to cut yourself. You're only trying to cut the clay. So this side, you hold it tighter. And then when you come here, your hands steady. The left in the middle of your cup or bowl or whatever, or inside. And then this outside. So this against the wall or the rim. So we're going to push this in and then hold still. So we imagining that, let's say about a 1/4 inch is wobbling, or we're going to cut a trim off like a 1/4 inch just to straighten it out. So we push in and then hold still. Okay, the best way to do it, let the wheel move and then you go in and then you hold still. So I go in and hold and then it cuts.
Wow.
Okay, so when it cuts, you can just stop and do it gently. Take this off your hand, then you take it off. Okay? Or we all have the pin, but I think for now the wire will work for easily or comfortably with all of us. So if you're going to use the pin, you hold the rim, make sure it is revolving smoothly or freely in your hand, and then the pin against your thumb, and then you push in at the point that you want to cut. Okay, so you push all the way in until, so put it here and then I push it in until it goes out and I take it off. Or I push it in, after it makes the cut, you can stop, take out the tool and take it off. Okay, and last thing, should we shape before I do that? Okay, let's shape it. So if I feel this is like is it about a, yeah, this is about a 1/4 inch. So our target should be, yeah, this is a little beyond the 1/4 inch. This will be like a few inches. But let's say this is, what is a 1/4 plus 1/8, whatever.
It's 3/8.
Okay, whatever 8. So let's say this is the thickness that we're looking for. Okay, our thickness should be in the range of about a 1/4 inch or less.
Your walls.
The thickness of the wall, yeah. Okay, if you feel like it is too thick, you just go in again and then you pull it out. Remember, you can pull like this or with a sponge. But if you're pulling something that is tall, if you already pull up to about here, it is definitely going to be longer than your hand. So you can no longer do this. Definitely this has to go all the way in and this will be out. So you have to master the two together. Right? Because you're going like what, 5 inches, and some of us will have our hands less than 5 inches. So you can do this and go all the way down and come up. Okay? So whenever you want to pull again, make sure the walls are wet or slippery, and then you pull again, and then it can be thinner and taller. You have to be moving at a pace that is not too faster than the wheel. Okay, right? So not all the rim, or not all the time that the rim will be wobbling that you have to cut. You can just you grab the rim like this, and then you put one finger here, just press against the rim and then try to straighten it up. If it doesn't, then you can trim. Okay? So, anybody has a shape in mind? So now the shaping is going to be about pushing and pulling. If I want it this way, okay, I can use my hand, just my hand, or the sponge. I guide the rim. I put the sponge in, and then I'm going to push out. The wheel should not be moving, so you see it's getting a belly. Okay? That means I'm pushing the clay in the inside. Okay? And then I come up slowly. Alright? So I put my hand here just to guide the rim from dancing. Okay? Is that okay? If I want to alter it further, remember it's just pushing and pulling. Whatever shape you want, you can get it out of here. So if I want to open up the rim or give it like a wider lip or something, I'll put this hand inside. So this is going to push out or pull out, and this can pull in or push in. Or this hand will just be here, and this will be doing the pushing or the pulling. Still, if you feel like your hands will get stickier or sticky quickly, you can use the sponge. So this hand will be here, and then so the sponge is only as a guide. Alright? And then the fingers on the left is pulling out or opening it wide. Okay? So I can do, or I can go as far as, okay? So you don't do it at a go, especially if you're opening it up, because if you're opening it up, the clay will be expanding. So there's a likelihood of the clay tearing apart. So you can do a bit, and you come back, press against the rim to reinforce the rim, and you can do it again. And always, if you know that your shape is going to have a very wide lip, make sure that before you do the widening, the thickness is not very small, so that when you stretch it, it can thin out. If it is thin and you stretch it, you're going to stretch the clay beyond its elastic limit, and it will tear apart. Okay? So, any questions before we move on to the last thing? So imagine if you want to clean off the fingerprints, you can do it now. If you can, if you can't, just wait. When you trim, you do it. But if you want to do it now, you're going to do it with this tool or with this tool. But at this stage, this tool will be the best because you can bend this. Okay? So you're going to do it like you're pulling. But this time around, you're not really pulling, you're cleaning. So you're not pressing too hard. Okay? So you make sure your hands are wet, especially in the inside. And then this one starts from here. You press against your hand, and then you come up slowly, whilst you bend it. You get to this point, you can take off your hand, and then this time around I'm going to use this, and because this has a curve. Okay, so I go again. Everything must be done gently. Alright? At this point, the clay has to be pampered more than your husband or your boyfriend or your wife or your partner or whatever. Okay? Because at this point, the clay is like, even though you're the one in control, but it is your boss. Right? So it's either you treat it well or it will frustrate you. Okay? So one last thing, and then we cut it off the way. So you can see the rim is very sharp. Right? We can two ways. One is to give it a bevel with a hand or with a finger. So you hold here with the left, and then this one, instead of straight, you kind of tilt it a little bit. So it goes this way, and now you have a little tilt. So whatever is going to flow out of here is going to come freely or smoothly. Okay? And then the last one will be, and you don't necessarily have to do this. If you don't do it, it's still fine. Not every cup has this. Okay? So let's say you're all going to do it. You're all going to have our piece with it flat like this. So you grab a piece of cloth. It can be a leather cloth. If you don't have the leather cloth, you can get a piece of your piece of plastic. But mostly, if you have a leather cloth, that would be perfect. Okay, so you're going to hold this against the rim. You're not going to press too much. So it's going to go around the rim, and then you hold its tail. Right? So this is going to be wet. And then whilst the wheel moves, you put this around, or it can be here. It has to be here. And then I hold its tail, and then it goes like a few turns, and then I have it rounded and clean. Okay? Any questions? If you want to make some lines, now you can make them, or when you're trimming, you can make them. What's the time? 12:57. Okay. Any more questions?
Can I have that one?
Yeah, sure.
You're gonna have to make more.
You can have it, but you're not presenting it.
I just.
Yeah. Any more? No more questions, right? Okay.
Now,
Yes.
when you're making the lip, can you actually make the lip extend out more curvy?
So
You know what I mean, right?
So you're making a cup or a mug that you're going to drink out of. So you have to bear that in mind. If I have a mug that has this lip,
Yeah.
I'm going to have the content run over here. Okay? Unless maybe you say you're going to, yes. Unless you're going to say, I'll use a straw. That's fine. That's valid. So if you're going to tell me that you use a straw, that's fine.
But if we want to tilt it out more,
Yes,
can,
that's what I just said. But if you tilt it more and you come and I ask you why, and you don't mention the straw, I will say the function is going to be a problem, because if you're going to drink out of it, it's going to go everywhere.
You gotta make a straw too. When it's flat like that on the top, could you curve the lip in to have like a bevel?
Like this.
Yeah, kind of like that.
So on the wheel, you can do everything, so long as the clay is not dry. So you can go all the way. Okay, but make sure that, like I said, if you have an idea of that in mind, remember the thickness of the clay. So the clay was very thin already. So as I stretch further, you can see some few cracks. Okay, if that happens, you don't have to leave the cracks. Just put your hands across and then press gently, not too hard, otherwise you're going to ruin your form or your shape. Or you can use any of your tools. It can be this. Okay, it can be this. Any tool that you're not restricted to what you have to use at what time. You just have to know what will work for what. All right. Okay. No more questions? You're going to take it off. So once again, you're not going to, or the aim is not to cut your hand or your fingers, but to cut the clay. All right. So if this is too wide for you and you want to close it up, it goes around your hand or your fingers, and then you hold it. Okay, you hold it at a wider dimension that fits what you want. Okay, so the tension is going to be here. All right, and then you just push it down. All right, if you think you cannot do what I just did, you can take off the splash pan. I'll show you how this one works on Monday. So you can take off the pan. And then if you're right-handed or left-handed, depending on which hand you want to pull, you can put the tool here. You see, this is far away. Okay, this is when I want to use just the handle. So I put this here, and then I hold it still, and then I stretch this across. Okay, so I have nothing to do, my hands or my fingers has nothing to do with the wire. I'm only holding the handle. So it's either you stretch with the left, or if you want to do the right, this one rests here. So you're going to hold the tool, the handle, against the head or the metal, and then you just stretch this across. Okay? Alright, so you do it once, you put this here, you put some water here, and then try to run the water underneath. So I'll do it again. Now I start from here, I push this. Okay, you saw it sliding away, right? I'll do it again. So now it's slippery, and then either this or this, I push it all the way. Okay, if you want to push it or slide it all the way onto your board or your working board, make sure the board is wet. So you slide all the way onto it, or you just put your hand here and then slide it into your hand. You drop this.
Drop it.
And then you put it on your board. Okay?
Teacher's pet.
Okay. So I think we will do the trimming and the fixing on the handle maybe after next week. All right? Any questions?
Right now.
Not right now?
Probably next week.
Okay. Well, let's go back. Check who is here and who is not here, and then we can go away.